do this. Attention YouTube. This is TKE. It's Sunday at about 12:15 in the morning. This one's going to be on the fly. This may or may not be the last in the series of videos that I call What I Believe. This is probably going to be a crucial one. This is my attempt. This may not even end up on air. But I've organized my thoughts, and I think I'm ready to do it. So let's do it. You've always wanted to do that. I hope the safety's on. Okay. I got some books with me here. First of all, let me make this... Now, you know what? I'm not even going to address some of the stupid statements that have been comments that have been left for me, and the fact that no one has actually put up a debate video, but instead just want to keep complaining. Forget about it, man. I'm not even going to honor that with a response, even though I totally just did. This is a book. It's called Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis, Clive Staples Lewis. I studied a lot about his life, and I studied a lot of his theology books. I hate Narnia, and I'll tell you why I hate Narnia. Well, I won't tell you why I hate Narnia, but basically, if you look it up, it was kind of like Narnia was... Later in his life, C.S. Lewis started doing a whole bunch of kids' books saying he didn't feel like doing any more theology books, and that sucks, because I love his theology books. Mere Christianity was one of his theological works and texts where he was basically called, in his day, the prophet to the skeptics. He was supposed to be the man who would... He openly, like me, supported debate over, you know, what you believe in order to try to find a solution to the conflict, and he openly said, let's make a case for Christianity, and that's what his original title, well, maybe I don't know. Anyway, he called Mere Christianity, a case for Christianity or something like that, and it's an awesome book. I love C.S. Lewis. He's like one of my... whatever. A lot of the evidence that I'm going to be giving out can be seen in Josh McDowell's Evidence That Demands a Verdict. He was a historian that, and a seminary guy who created a line of books called Evidence... Yeah, look at that. That's pretty thick. Evidence That Demands a Verdict. He created a second edition, which is this one, I believe. This is the second edition, right? No, this is volume 1. There was volume 2 and maybe another one. Then there was a second one, line of book called More Evidence That Demands a Verdict. I suggest you give it a read. So I can do this really quick. Okay. This is another Holy Bible. My family holds a lot of Holy Bibles. Okay. In the... Ooh, this one has pictures. Huh. Wow, it's got a lot of family pictures and stuff in it. Okay, look. The New Testament is basically created of the testimony that was given... It's a historical account of the Christian movement from the birth of Christ to the death of Christ, the resurrection of Christ, and then the Christian movement after it was created, after it started as little cults inside of, you know, the empire, or the Roman Empire, and so on till, I don't know, until the last book, Revelation, which was created by, well, it's controversial, some man who thought that he was the last prophet of God, seeing a bunch of stuff about how the world is going to end. Some people believe in it, some people don't. Some people believe that the end of the world already happened, some people believe that it's going to happen. No idea where I stand on that completely, but the main 4 books that we're looking at right now are St. Matthew, St. Mark, St. Luke, and St. John. These were 4 of the apostles, 4 of the 12 men who followed Jesus around, and this is their written testimony, including the testimony of the other apostles who didn't feel to write anything down, and some of the people that witnessed some of the stuff that Jesus saw. This includes all of the healings that he did, all of the teachings that he taught, including the Sermon on the Mount, his death, how it was done, the court case that, you know, basically the political... the upheaval of the time, the court that Jesus went to, where basically the Romans said, hey, listen, they're saying that you're the Son of God. And he says, hey, man, I am the Son of God. And then the Jewish people got upset, and they ordered that the Romans kill him, and the Romans were like, oh, okay, and so they killed him. And then supposedly he was resurrected. The first thing I want to clarify is, one, we've already suggested that the Bible is very historically accurate because of all of its, because of the culture that held it and because of the way that it was held. The other thing that I'd like to make clear is that these people in this book, there's a lot of retarded people out there who want to act like the people who lived during this time were very, very ignorant or easily appeased, like scientifically, psychologically, philosophically. And I'd like to say that that's completely false and a very, very stupid thing to say. You're talking about the Roman, the Roman time period, the time when we were paving roads, creating common languages, perfecting smelting techniques, studying astrology, creating plumbing, indoor plumbing, which did make them sick because they chose PB as their metal, which... or whatever. And, what was the last... Oh, the steam engine. Oh, and early surgery. Yeah, if you ever, want to check out that thing, there's a thing called the History Channel. They mostly talk about Nazis. Well, Romans were kind of like Nazis. Anyway, yeah, they were the original fascists. So I could get into that, but I won't. The point is that these people were regular people before they met Christ. We're talking about people who, in the day, existed. These historical figures who met this guy who was a historical figure, and supposedly were so loud about what they saw that they decided to, like, give up their entire lives to, you know, become these zealots for him. And there, you know, there's a lot of skepticism even inside the book. There's a part where after Jesus' resurrection, doubting Tom, I remember it was, I think I've been told that Peter was the doctor, but I thought Tom was the doctor. Someone basically was a physical, you know, not a therapist, obviously, I could say, but basically a standard, you know, fix you up, heal you up doctor. And he wasn't a witch doctor, he wasn't an apothecary, he was a doctor, you know. And basically he said, well, I will not believe until I can see the wounds, until I can see the stigmata in his hands. And supposedly Jesus walked up to him and said, go ahead, put your hand in, put your finger in there. He's like, no, that's okay, you have fun. Basically, the one thing that I'd like to present right now is just a simple argument. It's one of the standard arguments that I can produce. You can probably find other videos about it on YouTube, and I'm not even going to go into basic deep details, but people have been rushing me along, and I felt like, you know what, maybe I should get to the point. I thought I had more prep work before this chapter, but I suppose not. Okay, so these four Gospels all kind of confirm each other. They do not, what's the word? They do not contradict each other. A lot of people say that they contradict. They don't contradict. The four basic Gospels that are biographies of Jesus' life and all the weird stuff that these people saw, they focus on different details, but they all basically sync up. They're very good testimony. If you were to hear this in a court case, it wouldn't sound rehearsed. It would sound natural, like each person has their own point of view. C.S. Lewis, in Mere Christianity, created what he called, I think it was Mere Christianity. Lord, am I losing track of my C.S. Lewis? I think I might be. No, it's not in Miracles. Lord, I am losing my mind. Okay, anyway, C.S. Lewis, Mere Christianity, he created a very common theological terminology, or not terminology, a term called the trilemma. Lord, liar, or lunatic. He says, there are three things we can think about Jesus, and three things we can think about the people that hung out with Jesus. Because history has proven, but basically, the Gospels exist, this testimony exists. These people were saying that they saw weird stuff. And so he says there's three things we can think about what they saw, or what they're saying. One, they're making it up because they're liars. Two, they believe they saw what they saw, but they didn't really see it, they were just insane. Or three, they saw what they saw, and we must believe some kind of supernatural or out-of-the-ordinary thing caused this, i.e., Son of God. And there are a few other things that I can imagine, but I'll get to that if I have time. So let's go over these examples. One, the first argument you can say is that they were making it all up. Why would you make up something like that? Why, you know, what is your motivation to just make up some crap like that? Well, I can tell you this. At the time, it was not popular to be a Christian. Let me explain. Again, a lot of people don't recognize the history. Jesus came in a time period where you had two kind of factions here. You had the Roman Empire, who, they weren't religious, they were fascists, but they pretended to be religious, and if you didn't belong to their... Later on, after, what's his name, Nero of Rome got in, he was the Caesar that said, if you do not acknowledge me as God, we'll kill you. And we're talking about lots of people went to their death. Let's see, I can go into the torture methods, but maybe some of you out there have a weak stomach, so I won't. I know my mom can't even stand it. Anytime I want to win an argument, I'll just go, you know, the Romans had interesting torture methods. So basically, and on the other side you had the Jews, which at the time, no offense Jews, but I'm just about to defend every Jew in the area, so, you know, hold your ears. At the time there was a lot of political corruption inside the Jewish church and the Sanhedrin and the Pharisees, and oftentimes if the Jews found, you know, Christians in the temples trying to tell them about the Messiah, who they did not believe was the Messiah of their prophecy, they would kill them. In fact, Paul the Apostle stood before a council and said, friends, you have to understand this. Paul the Apostle was not like the rest of them. Paul the Apostle was a Jew. He was a Roman citizen. He was a big, you know, political player who in his day found Christians and said, I was standing there and I offered to hold people's clothes and belongings while I offered them stones to kill Christians with. And I want you to understand that. Imagine if you were walking down the street and you were black and there was like, you know, it was like 1940 or something like that, and some white person said, I'll hold your clothes, here's a stone, you better beat that darky. That's what they were facing. And so my question is, what is the motivation to make this up when you were going to be murdered in a horrible, horrible way? I mean, one of you wants to prove me wrong? Okay. Basically, self-immolate. There you go. There's my challenge to you. Set yourself on fire for a belief you don't believe in, something you made up, and yeah, I'll drop my argument. Until then, shh. The second argument, you know, and again, I offer debate against any of this, but